What do you think when you see these statues around the country being taken down, in some cases torn down?
I don't like it. I'm not one that likes it. I think we have a history. We have a very, in fact, I was just going to make a statement on that today, unrelated to yours. We have a very, very important heritage and history. And whether things are good or bad, you learn from it. And you know, the expression is you'll make the same mistake again if you forget your history. And I think it's a very important thing. It's a very important part of our history. Seeing what's done, you know, in some cases, I agree, they were Confederate soldiers, generals, but they were done after the war in order to heal. This was a gesture of healing.
That's interesting. There's a lot of really interesting stuff there. An interesting lie claiming that the people who put up these Confederate statues were doing it so that we knew how bad they were. That's not why they put the statues up originally. What are you talking about? But that's interesting. He says, you know, you're doomed to repeat history if you don't learn from it. And some of our history has been very dark. And we shouldn't shy away from that. Now, I don't know why we would need Confederate statues to understand that, but that's the thesis that he put out. And it's strange that when it comes to maintaining these white supremacist statues, he's all for keeping the dark parts of history. But when it comes to actually acknowledging specific dark parts of history and the victims of them, suddenly he's not so interested in that. And I'm leading in here to talking about how the National Park Service has apparently removed visitor brochures from the Medgar and Myrlie Evers Home National Monument in Jackson, Mississippi. Evidently, they had a problem with some of the content in it. Specifically, references labeling Evers' killer, Byron De La Beckwith, as a racist. They didn't like that the brochures were judgy about the guy who assassinated an activist and a lawyer because he was black. How dare you? How dare you acknowledge that this guy might have been a racist? By the way, there is a little bit of evidence that the killer was a racist. Partly it's that he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. He was not like a group that's like the Ku Klux Klan, not an ode to the Ku Klux Klan, a reboot. He was in the original OG Ku Klux Klan and the White Citizens Council. He apparently had a lot of time. And he stayed a committed white supremacist, bragging about the racist murder that he'd done until he died in prison in 2001, because thankfully, many, many years after the murder, he was eventually convicted of it, but not initially, because we were an inherently racist society that had white jurors who refused to convict him for gunning down this man in cold blood. But sorry, I'm being judgy here, Sharon. I feel like this video will not be on display at the monument, not while Trump is in charge. What do you make of this?
He's a nutcase. You know, Byron were alive today, he'd be very upset with the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself, because he wasn't just part of the KKK and these other white supremacy groups. He was proud to be part of it. He proclaimed his membership. He touted it anywhere and everywhere he could. As you said, until his dying day, he was a proud white supremacist, bigot, killer. And so why they want to take that away from a man who was so proud of it and ruin that in American history, I don't know. But it's nutcase stuff.
Yeah, all this is nutcase stuff. I mean, even if he hadn't died in prison, I don't think Byron would have made it. First of all, he would have offed himself as soon as he found out that he shared a name with Byron Donalds. And then Byron Donalds would have been really sad that the Republican Party lost a great white supremacist. But anyway, no, this isn't the most important story going on right now. And they're doing this all over, by the way. The insurrection thing at the Smithsonian, I think it is, they're clearing out the stuff about Trump being like, no, you can't talk about the insurrection. Trump wasn't impeached, don't talk about that. By the way, the State Department is clearing out all the tweets from before Donald Trump was put in charge, because everything needs to be exactly what Donald Trump wants the message to be. All this is wild censorship, propaganda. That's all that this is. It's not the only one, by the way. A large pride flag was quietly removed from the Stonewall National Monument in Manhattan after a directive from the federal government. That's what they're spending their time on, choosing marble for their monuments and taking down the pride flag, because that's unacceptable. And so they're going to try to put it back up, at least in some context. But this is going on all over the country, of course. In Florida, they're destroying when they do those rainbow crosswalks. Ron DeSantis simply cannot sleep. He can't eat. He can't maintain an erection until he gets rid of every single one of these crosswalks. It's unacceptable and he won't stand for it. This is how petty and how driven by nonstop identity politics and culture war BS this stupid white supremacist regime is. Any other thoughts, Sharon?
No, but well, yeah. Once this monster's gone and we deal with all of the treasonous bastards who supported him and did crimes in his name, we're going to have to take a page out of Germany's history. We're going to have to do what they did after the world was rid of Hitler. They're going to have to confront the past and to this day work to make sure it's never repeated. We're going to have to go through all of these things. And this is a very short window in American history, but we're going to have to go back and make it right and reteach school children. We may have lost a whole generation based on Trump and his lies, but we're going to have to figure it out like Germany did, still not a perfect society, to say, oh, this is not what we're not part of this Hitler thing. We're not gonna do this. We will claim this happened, here's why, but we will never revisit this filth. And how will we do that? We will make sure that everybody knows we've learned, and we'll keep teaching about this disastrous, murderous time in German history. And that's what America's gonna have to do here.
I agree. It's the brochure thing is just so wildly petty. It's like when the Pentagon took down, I think they had stuff about the Tuskegee Airmen and stuff like that. And they just said, no, we can't acknowledge that. I don't like it. I don't want to think about it. It's
the
so
USS
petty.
Gay, remember that?
Yeah, exactly. The Enola Gay had to be taken out because it was gay, I guess. Yeah, so how dare you imply that this killer was racist? Racism doesn't exist. I mean, decades and decades after the murder, our government is so explicitly racist that it's weeding out inconvenient history. But how dare you, sir? Absolute madness.
If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.